Like Taher said, thank you for coming. Security is a big deal for us these days, and we invest a lot of time and effort in trying to make sure we have everything that's necessary in place to protect everybody. The landscape changes so much, so often, so fast that it's really hard to stay ahead of the game. So we're going to kind of describe, what we do from a physical layer, and then some of the new things that we need to be aware of is really more of the human element, the employees and the employee behavior. So let's get started, Taher. Well, here's just some statistics. There's a high level of breaches. As you can see, 71% of the security breaches are targeted towards the small businesses. The hackers believe that those are the folks that are less likely to have good security in place, so that's a good target. The data does show that 60% of the small business firms that do have a data breach, do go out of business within 6 months. That seems like a high number, but that's what the statistics say, and in a lot of cases I can believe it. A lot of times it's not so much the monetary issue that happens with a breach, but also the bad publicity that happens with a breach. There you go, 350,000 new malicious programs, malware, every single day are brought out into, the World Wide Web by a bunch of these malicious people. So you got to be in a position where you can deal with zero-day threats. And we try to do that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Adado is a manufacturer of a backup and disaster recovery system, but it's, they documented that it's costing businesses $75 billion a year, not from just the standpoint of having to pay ransoms, but the downtime in your business, and also the cost of recovering your system and getting you back to where you need to be. It's a high number of funds are never recovered, even though 68% are never recoverable. Part of that is that even though these guys say if they have ransomware in your system and that pay me 20,000 bitcoins and I'll give you your data back. Well, a lot of times it doesn't ever really happen. So it's a high probability. And plus, the other thing that does do take into account is the cost of recovering, the cost of the days out of business. So it's pretty big deal. And then other thing is, America, the United States is a target, and actually Florida's a pretty big target. And I think we have some statistics on that, coming up here in a minute. All right, Taher.
Also, I do want to say, if anyone has questions, feel free to ask anytime. We are going to have a question section at the end. And there is going to be a quiz at the end. So it's just a win prize, because no one's going to get dings.
You can't leave till you pass the quiz.
Yeah, you have to get on your So it'll be a good way to win some prizes and keep everyone engaged.
Yeah, okay. Well, just a threat overview. I mean, it's kind of, in our eyes, it's kind of obvious, but it's ransomware and malware, the spoofing, the phishing, the spear phishing, and the farming, and then keystroke logging. And all these people are doing, they're trying to steal your information is what it comes down to. They try to steal your information so they can have financial gains, either holding you ransom or stealing from your bank account, what it comes down to.
Tom, what is keystroke logging?
Hackers get on their systems and they're able to log all your keystrokes. So like if you're logging into a bank account, they can log the keystrokes like your username and password. It's things of that nature, and that's what the goal of it is. We don't see that as much today as that used to be a big deal, but it's still out there.
So the keystrokes will see that you went to www. whatever website it is, and then they see, okay, they typed in this, which is probably the username, and then this, which is probably the password. So they can put two and two together, and then that variations of the password can get them into a lot of other accounts.
Yeah. All right, Tara, we can go to the next step. This is really, well, don't quite yet. Our security is a layered threat, a layered effect from a security standpoint, just layer after layer after layer. There's duplication. You can never have too many layers. And, You know, that's our goal, is to give you as many layers and protection as we possibly can. All right, here's a basic drawing of a basic network. You know, the cloud, that's the internet. You know, most everybody has either a modem or a router from their ISP provider. They got a switch, and here's your local area network. So boom, they can get to you and come right through and have whatever they want. So we need to put layers on this infrastructure to keep people away. So the first thing that we typically and always do put in place is a firewall. You know, the firewall, it's a like DPI, deep packet inspection of data that comes into your network. So basically it's taking every packet and inspects it for bad data, bad files, corrupt files, bad people, and it blocks that information. A firewall is a real necessity. It's the way we manage what comes into your network and what goes out of your network. There's a lot of things we can do with firewalls. Those that have remote users, we set up VPNs at the firewall level, remote offices, VPNs at the fire level, just to keep it secure. There's so many things that we can do with programming within the firewall that really can make it very difficult for people to get in or people get out. Next level is at the workstation. And at the workstation, we always implement the Windows firewall. It's kind of a little bit of a duplication, another layer, firewall, physical, software. You know, it's basically to keep other people from getting onto your computer, either through the internet or through your network. Okay. Antivirus product. The antivirus product we utilize is called WebRoot. It's a web-based antivirus product that is, the definition is always up to date, and it uses, well, I'll tell you something in a minute, but it's a very good antivirus product. It's what we call a lightweight, doesn't take up a lot of resources on your computer, so it doesn't bog it down. Some of the other products like Symantec are huge hogs, and they really slow your systems down. The other things that we manage are updates and patching. You know, security updates from Microsoft, both on their applications that they run, but also on the operating systems. They're both security updates and just updates to the programs. But above and beyond that, there's third-party programs that require updates. And the reason they require updates because, these hackers find security, holes in these applications, and they exploit them. So the patching is important. Okay. Another layer, the WebRoot cloud features. As part of WebRoot, the cloud features are, if something comes into your inbox or your browser, you want to download something, and if WebRoot doesn't recognize this as a good file, doesn't recognize it as a bad file, it actually puts it up into the cloud in like a sandbox environment, and it tests to see if it's a good or bad file. And if it is a good file, it'll let you download it. So there's other web features, like it'll block certain websites that you go to or links that you go to. It's even ads. So I mean it's just again another layer of security. Spam filtering. A lot of people here utilize Office 365. Office 365 does have some spam filtering built in and some controls, but we also use a product by AppRiver called SecureTide. And that's another layer. I mean, there's multiple antivirus malware engines that it looks through. The nice thing about using AppRiver SecureTide as well, we can actually configure it. We can block emails coming from all the different countries that are bad actors that we know that the bad actors come from. And it really gives you 99% of all the bad actors, all the bad spam filtering, just people soliciting you as well. It helps keep that out. And so again, it's another layer on top of what we're already doing. Capture, this is the advanced threat protection, and this is by SonicWall, and it's actually tied to this firewall. And I mentioned sandboxing, with WebRoot, and it kind of has the same effect. the advanced threat protection does, if it sees files and data coming in, again, if it doesn't like it, doesn't know it as a known good file or a known bad file, you know, it puts it up here and it tests it, and if it's good, it'll let it go through. If it's bad, it rejects it and it marks it as that's a bad file and will never let it go through again. But of course, you know, anything bad that it sees, they always get rejected. And then content filtering. Content filtering, you know, is just another layer that we utilize, and the content filtering, you know, is also the number one original purpose for content filtering was for productivity, and that was to keep your employees from going to websites that they don't need to be going to, keep them being most productive during the day versus playing. So that was the original content, but it plays a second role now more so than ever, and that role is that, you know, we can make it as loose as we want to, but we can make it as tight as we want to. By default, it does block known bad websites that you can go to. Okay. Other ways we can configure it, similar to, you know, Firewall not letting you, or the emails not letting you get from bad countries. We can configure the content filtering not to let you go to known countries that are bad actors like Russia and China. Those are two of the larger committers of the malware and the ransomwares. So as you can see, we have all these different levels from the top down, you know, to prevent the bad guys getting in. And even with all this in place, there's not a 100% guarantee that something's not gonna happen. Because this is us doing the physical layer to help you guys out, but there's always the human element. But this, from our standpoint, will get you where you need to be. And one of the reasons that the hackers have gone away from doing what we used to call brute force attacks, where they try to directly hack your systems by finding open ports on your network and infiltrating your system, well, because of manufacturers of a lot of these types of equipment and applications have gotten so good at blocking them, they have found new ways to doing it, and it's the weakness of the human person. And actually, it's not just only a weakness, they really do a good job of fooling you, and Tahir will talk about that again. Next.
PDR?
Yeah. But even with all this in place, if something does happen, you know, with all our systems, we have a backup and disaster recovery system that backs up your files once an hour, any changed files, and then it sends it off-site every night. It actually creates a chain of backups. You know, like every hour it'll create a new chain. So if something happens to, let's say at 10 o'clock, and you got a bunch of corrupt files at 10 o'clock, well, we can go back to the 9 o'clock chain and we can recover you. So that's a necessity. We utilize a product called StorageCraft, and we've never, ever not been able to recover somebody. Isn't that right, Tim?
That's right.
Tim and I sleep at night very well since we adopted StorageCraft, how many ever years ago that was.
Where does it back it up to every night?
Good question.
Co-location facility called CoLogix.
So it's a hurricane-proof.
It's a building in a building.
It's a building within a building within a cat. Like it's
good to know.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
I've been asked, I couldn't answer.
Oh,
That's a great question, because a lot of people don't realize where your data.
I know it was going somewhere.
well, I need to talk to you about that actually. Okay.
Oh, you're in trouble.
Actually, CoLogix is a local company that has a really nice facility, and tours are welcome. We love to take people on a tour over there because it's really a cool place. Okay. All right.
So, oh yeah, this is the bad guy trying to get in.
Yeah, we're going to keep him out. Let's see how this works out. Boing, boing. Okay.